All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're getting in touch with our inner child. We're talking about building those awesome backyard obstacle courses.
Backyard obstacle course. I love it. Yeah, the perfect blend of fitness and fun. And right in your own backyard.
Right. And, you helped me sort through a ton of articles, just a mountain of ideas for obstacle courses. And they're for everyone, families, adults.
Yeah.
We want to help our listeners build the best course possible, whether it's, for the kids, for the grown-ups, or even a mix of both.
And it's really interesting. So many of the sources we looked at, they really emphasized like how many benefits there are.
Oh, yeah.
It goes way beyond just getting some exercise.
So besides breaking a sweat, what makes obstacle courses so special? What else is there?
Well, it's not just about like your physical strength and how agile you are, right?
Right.
It's also about problem solving.
Right.
So every obstacle is kind of like a puzzle you got to figure out.
Mm.
So you're using your mind as much as your body.
That's a good point. Yeah. I noticed Tom's of Maine, they specifically mentioned how family-friendly courses can encourage teamwork and communication.
Yeah, that's so important, that working together to conquer those challenges,
Yeah.
it can really strengthen those bonds, whether it's families or even, like friends and neighbors getting in on the fun.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great way to build community. But before we get everyone running around, maybe we should talk about how to actually design these courses.
All right. Sounds good. So where do we even begin?
Okay, so let's start with courses that are designed for kids.
Okay.
There's this one article from Tom's of Maine, and they had this really great suggestion.
Okay.
Raid the toy bin.
Oh.
Use things like pool needles for balance beams, cones to weave around, hula hoops for jumping.
Yeah.
Most families probably already have this stuff lying around.
That's a huge relief because it sounds like a lot less intimidating than having to go out and buy a bunch of fancy equipment.
Exactly. And it also ties into this idea that I saw pop up in a few articles about upcycled props.
Hmm.
So you can repurpose old tires or even like stacks of phone books, turn them into fitness gear.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah, it's resourceful. It's eco-friendly.
It's very clever.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of being resourceful, I know Backyard Boss had a really good point about choosing the right location for your course.
Right. Safety first, always.
Of course.
Yeah, they really emphasize picking a spot that's away from anything hazardous, like sharp objects or driveways or water.
Right.
And it should also be, appropriate for the age and skill level of whoever is going to be using it.
Right. Of course, you don't want any accidents.
No, definitely not.
And, going back to Tom's of Maine, I remember them mentioning these mental obstacles.
Yeah.
And I was kind of confused about what those would look like beyond just the bead threading example they gave.
It's a clever way to give kids a break from those physical challenges, but still keeps their brains engaged, right? So imagine a station where they have to match shapes or solve a simple puzzle, or maybe even a quick memory game.
Oh.
It adds variety. It works those cognitive muscles.
Yeah, that's neat. It keeps it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered some ideas for the younger crowd.
Right.
What about obstacle courses that are geared towards adults? I mean, we deserve to have some backyard fun too, right?
Of course we do. And the Backyard Boss article, they really tapped into that Ninja Warrior fantasy,
Oh, yeah.
A lot of us have that, and they had a really smart point about design.
Okay.
They actually encourage you to plan out the course's purpose and how it flows before you even start gathering materials.
So we're not just throwing random challenges together.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. It feels more intentional.
Right, yeah.
But how do we translate those Ninja Warrior dreams into an actual plan?
Well, Backyard Boss uses this concept of challenge stations to help you organize the course. And then if you combine that with the different types of obstacles that WikiHow outlined, then we can really start building something special.
Okay, let's hear about those obstacle types. What kind of challenges are we talking about for a grown-up course?
So for agility, think about cones to weave through,
Mm-hmm.
low ropes that you have to step over without touching.
Yeah.
For jumping, you've got your classic hula hoops to hop through.
Right.
Maybe even a high jump,
Ooh.
but with a soft landing area for safety.
I'm already feeling that ninja spirit.
Yeah.
But what about strength challenges?
Well, a pull-up bar is always a good addition.
Classic.
Yeah, you could also do something like carrying weights for a certain distance,
Right.
or even a wall to climb over.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
But before everyone goes and builds a death-defying course, we can't forget about safety, right?
Absolutely.
No fun if someone gets injured.
No fun at all. And actually, every single article that we looked at emphasized that,
Yeah.
Supervision for kids is essential. And WikiHow also made a really good point about having clear instructions at each station.
Right.
Just to prevent, any confusion and accidents.
And I think it's worth repeating that Backyard Boss safety checklist.
Right.
Secure footing.
Yeah.
Plenty of padding where needed.
Yeah.
And most importantly, test everything out.
Yes.
Before you unleash your friends and family.
Exactly. It's like, a recipe. You wouldn't serve a dish without tasting it first.
True, true.
Same goes for an obstacle course. You want to make sure it's enjoyable and safe for everyone involved.
All right, so we've got our course built. Safety measures are in place. What happens next? Do we just stand around and admire our work?
Of course not.
What do we do?
Tom's of Maine had a really cool idea.
Okay.
Turn the course into a relay race or a circuit.
Oh, okay.
They even suggested a halfway start.
A halfway start.
Yeah.
So like the next person starts running when the first person is halfway through the course?
Exactly.
That sounds like organized chaos.
It does.
I like it.
Yeah, it definitely adds another layer of excitement. But even with all this running and jumping, we can't forget about the cool down station.
Right.
Yeah.
That ties back to all those health benefits we talked about at the beginning.
Exactly. It's not just about the adrenaline rush, it's about incorporating healthy habits into the whole experience.
Right.
And speaking of incorporating, there's something we haven't really talked about yet, and that's sustainability.
Oh.
Not just in terms of reusing materials, but also, making sure that you can keep enjoying this obstacle course long after you've built it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. How do we make this something that we enjoy for more than just one afternoon?
You have to think about its purpose beyond just physical activity.
Okay.
Can your obstacle course also be a space for imaginative play? Can you adapt it as your family grows, as their interests change?
That's a good point. Think beyond just that initial build.
Right.
You could even get everyone involved in the planning and building process.
Yeah.
So that everybody feels a sense of ownership and pride in the finished product.
Exactly. Collaboration and creativity, those are key ingredients for a really engaging and sustainable obstacle course. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves...
Hold on. I think it's time for a quick break.
Mhm.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to explore even more tips and tricks for building the ultimate backyard obstacle course.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome back. I bet you've had some time to, let all these ideas sink in.
Oh yeah, definitely feeling inspired. But before we go full Ninja Warrior in our backyards, one thing keeps popping into my head.
What's that?
We live in a world where the weather can be so unpredictable.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when, a sudden downpour hits our carefully planned course?
That's a really good point. And Backyard Boss actually reminded us that these courses are, kind of at the mercy of the elements.
Wow.
Rain, sun, even snow. It can really take a toll on those obstacles.
So do we need to, invest in some giant retractable roof for our backyard?
Maybe not that extreme, but Backyard Boss recommends using weather-resistant materials whenever possible. So pressure-treated lumber, marine-grade rope, sturdy plastics.
Right.
Those are going to be your best friends in the fight against the elements.
Smart thinking.
Yeah.
And I bet there are creative solutions too, maybe using a tarp to cover certain obstacles or even designing the course so it can be easily taken apart and stored away.
Exactly. Adaptability is key. And speaking of adapting, we've talked a lot about safety.
Right.
But maybe we should look at it from a different angle. We've covered the physical side of things.
Right.
But what about mental and emotional safety?
Oh, that's a good point.
Especially for kids, It's really important to create an environment where they feel encouraged to try their best, even if they don't conquer every single obstacle.
I agree. It's so easy to get caught up in the competitive aspect of it,
Yeah.
and forget that it's really about having fun and challenging yourself. We don't want anyone feeling discouraged or pressured. No, definitely
It
not.
should be fun for everybody.
And you know what? Tom's of Maine, they had this suggestion about disguising workout terms.
Oh, what do you mean?
So instead of saying push-ups, you say power pumps. Instead of crunches, it's crushes.
That's cute. Yeah.
It seems like a small thing,
Yeah.
but it can actually make a big difference in how kids perceive those challenges.
Yeah, it kind of frames it as more fun and empowering,
Yeah.
It's about celebrating the effort, regardless of the outcome.
Exactly.
Like cheering someone on for trying something difficult.
Yeah.
And if they don't, get it perfect on the first try.
Right. It fosters that growth mindset,
Yeah.
where mistakes are just seen as opportunities to learn and get better.
Exactly.
And that's a lesson that goes way beyond just the backyard.
For sure, for sure. Okay, we've talked about design, safety, weathering those elements. What else is crucial when we're planning our epic obstacle course?
I think it's time we talk about theming.
Theming. You mean like turning my backyard into a pirate ship or something? It could be that elaborate, sure.
Yeah.
But theming can also be more subtle.
No.
Think about using colors or flags or even just simple props to create a specific atmosphere.
I'm starting to see the possibilities here. It's like adding a layer of storytelling to the experience. So instead of just, jumping over things, you're like navigating a jungle or completing a spy mission or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the theme doesn't have to be over the top.
Right?
Even just a simple color scheme or a few well-placed decorations can make a big difference.
That's true.
It's about, adding personality and amping up the fun factor.
Oh, my mind is already racing with ideas. I'm picturing like a glow-in-the-dark obstacle course for nighttime adventures.
See, now you're thinking outside the box, and that's what it's all about.
Right.
Taking these basic principles and really making them your own.
I like it. Speaking of making it our own, remember that challenge you posed earlier about creating a unique obstacle? Have you had any ideas come to mind?
Actually, yeah, I have.
Okay, let's hear it.
Remember those mental obstacles from Tom's of Maine?
Yeah.
I think we can take that concept even further.
Okay.
Imagine an obstacle where you have to, solve a riddle or decipher a code
Well,
or even complete a mini escape room puzzle.
that's so cool.
Right.
You're blending like physical and mental challenges into one epic obstacle. And it's so versatile, you could tailor the puzzles to fit any interest like history, science, pop culture.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.
Oh, I love it. All right, listeners, I'm officially feeling inspired. We've covered so much: design tips, safety measures, weatherproofing, theming, and even adding those unique personalized challenges.
It's been a lot.
Yeah, it really has. We've packed in a ton of tips and tricks for building that ultimate backyard obstacle course. Hopefully our listeners are feeling as inspired as I am.
I hope so too. And the most important ingredients are your own creativity and enthusiasm.
So go forth, embrace your inner child, and build an obstacle course that's as unique and awesome as you are. And don't forget to share your creations with us. We'd love to see what you come up with. Until next time, happy obstacle coursing. All right, we're back, ready for more obstacle course awesomeness.
We've talked about the physical stuff, the mental challenges.
Right.
But there's this whole other area we haven't even touched on.
Oh,
Sensory experiences.
sensory experiences. Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more.
So it's about engaging all the senses, not just, sight and touch. Think about incorporating sounds, smells, even tastes.
Hold on, tastes. Are we making this into some kind of backyard buffet now?
Well, not exactly a buffet, but maybe you have a station where you have to identify different fruits just by taste while you're blindfolded.
Okay.
Or maybe you got to complete a task while you're holding, a sour candy in your mouth.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
It adds that element of surprise and silliness.
Yeah. I like it. It's like a playful twist on those food challenges you see on those reality shows.
Exactly.
But what about sounds? How do we bring those in?
You could have an obstacle where you have to follow a series of musical cues.
Right.
Or maybe you have to do something while you're wearing headphones, but they're playing distracting noises.
Ooh, that's tough.
It's a real test of focus.
It is.
Yeah.
I bet you could even use the natural sounds from your backyard, like birds chirping or the leaves rustling,
Oh, yeah.
It creates a more immersive atmosphere.
Exactly. And we can't forget about smell. Imagine you've got fragrant herbs or flowers incorporated into the obstacles, or maybe you create a scent maze.
A scent maze. Whoa.
Yeah, and you have to follow a particular aroma to get through it.
That's such a cool idea. This really turns a whole obstacle course into a sensory adventure.
It does.
I bet that would be amazing for kids especially.
Oh, yeah?
It helps them develop their sensory awareness, and they're having a blast at the same time.
Exactly. It's about play, it's about exploration, and it just makes the whole experience so much richer and more memorable.
That's a good point. Speaking of memorable, we got to talk about capturing these epic moments.
Of course, you got to have the photographic evidence.
We need proof of our ninja warrior skills.
Absolutely. So why not designate a photo op spot along the course?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Maybe it's a backdrop with a funny sign or a podium where you can strike a victory pose.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a fun way to, remember the experience and share it with other people.
I can already picture the photo albums.
Mm-hmm.
And you could even get creative with costumes and props for those photo ops.
Oh, definitely.
Just add another layer of personality and fun.
Exactly. And don't forget about video.
Oh, yeah.
Set up a time-lapse camera. Document the whole obstacle course adventure.
That's so
Or
cool.
create a highlight reel of like the best fails and the biggest
It'll
triumphs.
be like our own personal backyard sports documentary.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have. From the design, the safety, weatherproofing, theming, those sensory experiences, even how to capture it all on camera.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. We've packed in tons of tips and tricks for building the ultimate backyard obstacle course.
Hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired.
Me too. And remember, the most important things are your own creativity and enthusiasm.
That's right. So go out there, embrace your inner child, and build an obstacle course that's as unique and awesome as you are. Don't forget to share what you come up with. We'd love to see it. Until next time, happy obstacle coursing.